Thank you everyone for coming this evening. My name's Nick Yanloon. I'm the chairman of the Ptagomi Association, and I'll be chairing this event this evening on behalf of the Famagusta Association. A little bit of housekeeping first of all. Can you all hear at the back? No. No? How about now? Okay, if for any reason you can't hear, just shout out. Very important, fire escapes. There's one here to my left, and there's two at the back. That's three. So we're not expecting any dangerous activity tonight, but just in case. I'd like to start this evening by calling on Father Konstantinos, representing Archbishop Nikidias of Theaterion GB, to give his blessing for this evening's event.
Ευλογητός ο Θεός ημών πάντοτε εν υγεία ήγης τους αιώνας των αιώνων. Blessed is our God always, both now and ever, and to the ages of ages. Amen. Άγιος ο Θεός, Άγιος ισχυρός, Άγιος αθάνατος, ελέησον ημάς. Holy God, Holy mighty, Holy and immortal, have mercy on us. Άγιος ο Θεός, Άγιος ισχυρός, Άγιος αθάνατος, ελέησον ημάς. Δόξα Πατρί και Υιό και Υιό Πνεύματι και νυν και ήγης τους αιώνας των αμήν. Παναγία Τριάς, ελέησον ημάς. Κύριε ηλάστη της αμαρτίας ημών, Δέσποτα συγχώρησον της ανομίας ημίν. Άγιε επίσκεψε και ίασε τα ασθενείας ημών, ένεκεν τον όνομα σου. Κύριε ελέησον, Κύριε ελέησον, Κύριε ελέησον. Glory to the Father and to the Son and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever and to the ages of ages. Amen. I would ask you all to join in with the Lord's Prayer in Greek and in English. Πάτερ ημών ο εν της ουρανής, αγιαστήτω το όνομά σου, ελθέτω η βασιλεία σου, γεννηθήτω το θέλημά σου, ως εν ουρανό και επί της γης. Των άρτων ημών των επιούσιων δώσιμη σήμερον, και άφεση μην τα οφειλήματα ημών, ως και εμείς αφιέμεν τις οφειλέτες ημών. Και μη εις ενέγγις ημάς πειρασμών, αλλά ρίσε ημάς από του πονηρού. And in English, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, now and forever, and to the ages of ages. Amen. Ελέησον ημάς ο Θεός κατά το μέγα ελεός σου, δεμεθά σου επάκουσον και ελέησον. Have mercy on us, O God, according to your great mercy. We pray to you, hear us and have mercy. Εδιδόμεθα υπέρ του Πατρός και Αρχιεπισκόπου Νικήτα. Again we pray for our Archbishop Nikitas and all our brethren in Christ. Let us pray for mercy, life, peace, health, salvation, and enlightenment from above for the servants of God here present, the ministers, the ambassadors, the lords, if there are any lords, and all of us. May the Lord give us a little bit of His wisdom, a little bit of His love, and a little bit of His peace. For you are a merciful and loving God, and to you descend all glory, to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and to the ages of ages. Amen. Διευχών των Αγίων Πατέρων ημών, Κύριε Ιησού Χριστέ ο Θεός, ελέησον και σώσον ημάς. Through the prayers of our holy fathers and mothers, Lord Jesus Christ our God, have mercy on us and save us. Amen. May I wish you a successful and fruitful evening, and with the enlightenment of God from above.
I'd like to invite the Minister of Labour and Social Affairs of the Republic of Cyprus, Mr. Kyriakos Gouchos, who's representing the President of the Republic of Cyprus, Mr. Nikos Anastasiadis, to address the meeting.
Honourable members of these Houses of Parliament, Mr. Mayor of Famagusta, dear friend Simos Ioannou, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I wished I could, but microphone is not working, so I apologize. It is a distinct honor to be here with you this evening. I wish at the outset to extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to the all-party parliamentary group for Cyprus under the leadership of Sir Lord Gale and the Famagusta Association of Great Britain, of course, his president, Mr. Nicolas Mavros, for the kind invitation to attend and address this evening's event. I would also recognize the presence of the mayor of my dear friend Simos Ioannou, the mayor of Famagusta, the vice mayor and the delegation from the municipality of Famagusta. And throughout our long and shared history, Cyprus and the United Kingdom have enjoyed strong bonds of friendship and enduring relations which are constantly growing as they are based on shared values and principles. This is a relationship that we greatly value, with our two countries closely cooperating over the decades in the vast array of important fields at the bilateral and multilateral levels, including as partners within the Commonwealth family. Strong people-to-people ties constitute not only a solid base which we always aim to build upon, and further strengthening of the excellent cooperation between our two countries, but also the most dynamic aspect of our bilateral relations. I'm glad to attest that the Cypriots that reside permanently in the United Kingdom, and I'm very proud to say the largest Cypriot community overseas, form an integral part of the social and cultural fabric of the UK society. At the same time, British expats that reside in our country are also contributing immensely to the Cypriot society. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, at the moment, the collective eyes of the international community are focused on the dramatic events in Ukraine following Russia's illegal invasion, and rightly so, as unfortunately the whole world is witnessing the unfolding of this great humanitarian, energy and food security crisis. But at this critical juncture, I urge you not to lose sight to another open wound that puts into question for almost 5 decades now the very fundamentals of the rules-based international order, namely the occupation of Cyprus. Since 1974, in our country, we are experiencing the ongoing illegal occupation of 37% of the territory of the Republic of Cyprus following the Turkish military invasion and the violent displacement of over 1/3 of its population, literally becoming refugees in their own country. To put the refugee problem into a UK perspective, the equivalent number would be over 20 million persons. Repeated violations of human rights, civilian casualties, missing persons, illegal arrests, forcibly displaced persons deprived of their fundamental rights, and the continued destruction of cultural heritage. In Cyprus, we live every day the trauma and the dire consequences of the war. The reunification of our island after 48 years of Turkish occupation is indeed long overdue, dear friends. In the face of this perpetuated injustice, the aim of achieving lasting peace in Cyprus remains the government's top priority. Seizing this opportunity, Excellencies, honorable members, I would like to brief you on the latest state of play of the Cyprus issue. Regrettably, the negotiating process remains at an impasse due to Turkey's intransigent stance and unacceptable demands. Its insistence to advocate for a two-state solution in stark contrast to the agreed parameters of a bizonal, bicommunal federation and the relevant United Nations resolutions undermines all prospects to achieve the desired breakthrough. This position is of course dismissed by the United Nations and the international community, including of course the United Kingdom, as it runs counter to the agreed basis of reaching a settlement within the established UN parameters. Even in the face of continuous threats and adversity, President Anastasiadis remains firmly committed to the peace process under the auspices of the United Nations Good Officers Mission. As such, the President has proposed a number of bold confidence-building measures which are related to the defense of city of Varosha and the port of Famagusta, the preparation of the Dimbu airport in the occupied areas, lifting of the Turkish embargo vis-à-vis Cyprus, and the exploitation of hydrocarbons found within the exclusive economic zone of the Republic of Cyprus. We truly believe, dear friends, that this set of win-win confidence-building measures can serve as a catalyst for breaking the current deadlock in the negotiating process and create the necessary conditions for a meaningful dialogue to take place in good faith. Although extremely disappointed, we were not surprised at all that the President proposed confidence-building measures were immediately rejected by Mr. Tatar, the Turkish Cypriot leader, without even being examined or discussed. Ankara, of course, had exactly the same response. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to focus on Famagusta, the well-known coast city of Varosha, an area fenced by the Turkish army following the illegal invasion of 1974. Since then, my hometown, I was born and brought up in Famagusta. Our hometown, dear friends, from the Famagusta Association of Great Britain, without any justification, is kept close to us, and the occupying forces deny the return of refugees to their home and to their properties. It is indeed an area of utmost political, legal, as well as symbolic importance that was also recognized by the United Nations Security Council, which defined the return of Varosha to its lawful inhabitants as a priority since the high-level agreements of 1977 and 1979 between the leaders of the two communities. To this end, we consider the area of Varosha as an issue of great significance and a catalyst for the Cyprus problem. As you understand, altering the status of the fenced city affects two major aspects of the Cyprus question: territory and property. It is for this reason that we sincerely believe that the return of Varosha to its rightful inhabitants and legal owners of the properties could be most significant confidence-building measure, one that can truly work as a game changer in efforts to unify Cyprus and its people. Excellencies, the distinguished guests, as you are aware, Cyprus is faced for many years now with continued illegal actions by Turkey, both at sea within our maritime zones as well as on the ground, mainly in Varosha, which constitute another manifestation of Ankara's blatant disregard to international law and the relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions. In particular, those that they call for the return and resettlement of Varosha by its rightful and lawful owners and inhabitants. We know that Turkey's aggressive and provocative behavior will not be reversed unless firmly and decisively refuted by the international community. In this respect, we count on UK support, especially through its vital role as a permanent member of the Security Council, conveying the right messages to Turkey as regards its obligations to respect international law and the sovereign rights of the Republic of Cyprus. And it is highly disconcerting, but unfortunately in line with Turkey's attribute of defiance of international legality, that it continues its clear violations in Varosha, even after the Security Council presidential statement of 2020 and 2021, which condemned Turkey's actions in Varosha and called for their reversal, while stressing the need for full respect and implementation of its resolutions. The UN Security Council reaffirmed on numerous occasions the importance and the imperative for Turkey to respect, comply, and implement its resolutions for Varosha, namely Resolution 550 of 1984, 789 of 1992, and most recently 2646, adopted earlier this year. But despite repeated calls to de-escalate the situation, Turkey decided to ignore all messages and proceed with this new fait accompli. And I cannot stress enough how much we rely on your continued support to exploit any political and diplomatic tool to bring Ankara back to the path of legality before its illegal plans become irreversible and abandon the destabilizing role and revisionism in the region. The President and the government of the Republic of Cyprus remain committed to achieving a settlement that will end the ongoing Turkish occupation and the current unacceptable status quo on the island. A settlement that will safeguard the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of the Republic of Cyprus without any third country dependencies, military forces, and the anachronistic system of guarantees. A solution that will address the legitimate concerns as well as aspiration of the Cypriots, ensuring the peaceful coexistence of both Greek and Turkish Cypriots. It is obvious that the negative developments on Varosha sabotages our efforts to resume talks. It should also be noted that for negotiations to have realistic prospects for success cannot be conducted under duress. Having said that, honourable members, I wish to convey President Anastasiadis' deepest appreciation to all party parliamentary group for Cyprus for its steadfast support all these years in our efforts to reach a viable and comprehensive settlement of the Cyprus issue based on the bizonal, bicommunal federation with political equality as prescribed by the relevant resolutions of the United Nations. Your country's support remains imperative for us, given its special role as a guarantor power and as a penholder of the related resolutions of the Security Council. Rest assured that the government and the people of the Republic of Cyprus, as well as the large Cypriot community in the United Kingdom, highly values and appreciates this support. Honourable members of the all-party parliamentary group for Cyprus, dear friends from the Famagusta Association of Great Britain, in closing, I would like to yet again sincerely thank you for your kind invitation to be with you this evening and to warmly wish you every success in all your future endeavors. Thank you for your attention and apologies for my voice.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you to the government for all its efforts in finding a solution. Now, can I now invite Dr. Simos Ioannou, Mayor of the enclave city of Famagusta, to address the meeting.
Honourable and right honourable members of Parliament, dear Minister of Labour and Social Insurance, Mr. Kyriakos Kouchos, dear Cyprus High Commissioner, Mr. President of the Famagusta Association, dear Vasilis, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. First of all, I would like to express our sincere thanks on behalf of the Famagusta municipality to the Famagusta Association of Great Britain for the invitation to participate in this event and for giving us the opportunity to address the event, expressing our thoughts and ideas on the Cyprus issue and on Famagusta in particular. It is with great agony and profound disappointment that we observe the recent provocative and utterly unacceptable actions of Turkey in respect with Varosha. In fact, Turkey and Mr. Tadar have been proceeding since October 2020 to new partitionist fait accompli with the opening of the coastal front as well as other parts of the fenced-off area of Varosha. This constitutes a provocative, illegal, and reprehensible action which violates the international law and order, all the relevant UN Security Council resolutions, in particular 550 and 789, and which is correctly being denounced by the Security Council and other European and international fora. We very much fear that if Turkey's intention to extend the colonization of our hometown to include the fenced-off area is materialized, this will unequivocally mark the end of the aspiration of the majority of the people in both communities in Cyprus to see this island reunified. Such an unlawful action will not only lead to unnecessary escalation of the tension in the region, but it will regrettably constitute the stepping stone towards the permanent division of our country, a most unfortunate development which we will never endorse. Excellencies, dear friends, having this opportunity, I would like to reaffirm once again the position of the Famagusta municipality in favor of finding a comprehensive settlement of the Cyprus issue on the basis of a bizonal, communal federation with political equality between the two communities as set out in the relevant resolutions of the United Nations, which shall provide for a state with a single sovereignty, a single international identity, and a single citizenship. A settlement that will free Cyprus from occupation and colonization, will reunify our country and our people, will reinstate and protect human rights and the basic freedoms of all Cypriots. A settlement that will enable us to return to our beloved city. At the same time, we strongly support the resumption of the talks under the auspices of the United Nations, appreciating that this process is the only way to a peaceful settlement of the Cyprus issue. The Municipality Council looks forward to the resumption of dialogue without any further delay under the auspices of the GS of the United Nations, aiming to reach an agreed settlement of the issue. The framework is set out in the relevant resolutions of the United Nations, with the continuation of the negotiation procedure from the point where it had remained at Grand Montana on the basis of the Guterres framework the joint announcement of February 2040 and the convergences that have been recorded today. We must work without regressions, despite difficulties, for a solution within the agreed framework on the basis of international law and the principles on which the EU is founded. The deepening and visible danger of the permanent consolidation of the partition status quo permits neither delays nor the cultivation of illusions. We need to take actions that will reverse Turkey's partitionist plans and serve our own goal for the liberation and reunification of our homeland. However, we consider that both the illegal action of Turkey within the Cypriot exclusive economic zone and the entry into the fenced of area of Famagusta 2 years ago are unacceptable and do not contribute to the creation of a good climate that will enable the resumption of the negotiation and the final settlement of the issue. Once again, we make a call towards the international community, the UN, and the 5 permanent members of the Security Council to intensify the current efforts, exercising their influence on Ankara to change its current intransigence policy and complete with the principles of international legality. Excellencies, dear friends, at a time when the peace process is at a very critical point, the immediate return of Varosha to its owners, inhabitants, as provided for by the United Nations, will prove a real game changer, a rigid and stable bridge leading to peace, a step towards eliminating mistrust, a unique case study, setting the ideal example that Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots can live and prosper together in a reunified Cyprus. Finally, I would like to extend to all of you our appreciation and gratitude for your support and solidarity all these 48 years of our struggle for peace and reunification of Cyprus. Thank you very much.
The Famagusta return to their homes. Now I'd like to invite my good friend Βασίλης Μαύρου, Chairman, or President, of the Famagusta Association of Great Britain, to address the meeting.
Πανιερότατε Πάτερ Κωνσταντίνο, Your Excellencies Minister of Labour and Social Insurance of Cyprus, Kyriakos Kouchos, Cyprus Ambassador to the UK, Andreas Kakouris, Mr. Mayor of the occupied city of Famagusta, Dr. Simos Ioannou, and representatives of the Famagusta Municipality, Deputy Mayor Chrysanthos Zanetou and Dinos Toumazou, Distinguished Chair of the APPG for Cyprus, Sir Roger Gale, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and representatives of embassies, Members of Parliament, distinguished guests. On behalf of my committee, Famagusta Association, I would like to welcome you all to our event today, celebrating the Independence Day of Cyprus and the case for Famagusta. The month of October is dedicated to celebrating Cyprus' independence. An independence, however, that did not fulfill the wishes of the Cypriot people. Cyprus became an independent sovereign state from the English rule in 1960 due to serious pressure resulting mainly from an armed struggle taken up by the Greek population of the island, who demanded independence and union with Greece, Enosis. A serious problem, however, appeared to be on the way. It was Turkey's ambitions to partition Cyprus and take control half of the country. The peaceful coexistence, cooperation and unity of the people of Cyprus was already damaged before the independence of the island due to these plans and aspirations by Turkey. The introduction of Turkish fascist nationalism with the slogan partition, directed by the mainland Turkey, was associated with violence and killings against both Greek and Turkish Cypriots that encouraged unity and togetherness of the two communities. This was met with similar aggression and violence by Greek Cypriot nationalists who at the same time started the anti-colonial struggle with the aim of union with Greece, Enosis. Unfortunately, the pre-independence intercommunal conflict assisted Turkey to claim its own slice of the cake at the negotiating table. This was proven to be the most dangerous recipe for disaster in the island. The search for a solution resulted in a conditional independence, burdened with both internal and external limitations and restrictions. The internal limitations included the breaking of the principle of a unitary state and the creation of separate categories of citizenship for Greeks and Turks. The constitution was undemocratic, unworkable, unjust, sectarian, and even racist. The intercommunal conflict encouraged by Turkey continued, unfortunately, after the independence, in a more vigorous way, with victims both Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots. The post-independence airstrikes and the use of napalm bombs by Turkey during the 1960s was a clear signal of Turkey's total commitment in achieving its ultimate aims, namely the division of the island by military force. Turkey seized on an opportunity gifted by the shocking to the country coup d'etat organized by the Greek junta against President Makarios in 1974, after brutally attacking Cyprus by air and by sea through a remorseless and ruthless bombardment with napalm and other deadly bombs. Its army marched nearly unopposed, killing and injuring thousands of Cypriots. Turkey forced 200,000 people to flee the violence, who ran away to save their lives. Turkey's military army seized 38% of Cyprus' territory. Apart from the losses in life, economy, wealth, and property, Cyprus has lost the greater part of its rich cultural heritage, consisting of archaeological sites, monuments, museums with their archaeological items of art, ancient churches, and monasteries, all destroyed, damaged, looted, or stolen along with their precious religious icons and mosaics. The decision to set up a self-proclaimed Turkish state of northern Cyprus and the draw of a barbed-wire walled line of partition right through the capital city of Nicosia has had disastrous consequences for all Cypriots of both communities for over 48 years. In addition, Turkey continues its illegal activities even today by violating Cyprus EEZ and the releases of NAFTEX within Cyprus EEZ, obstructing at the same time Cyprus in exercising sovereign rights in the sea. Unfortunately, Turkey refuses to implement the different United Nations Security Council resolutions aimed against its violent actions in Cyprus. The Cypriot people have grown disappointed and deeply disillusioned with the lack of political power and will of the Security Council to implement its own resolutions. These resolutions clearly call on Turkey to remove its army of occupation from the northern part of Cyprus and create the conditions for the return of the refugees back to their homes in conditions of peace and security under the legitimate government of the Sovereign Republic of Cyprus. At the same time, Cypriots believe that Britain, as the main guarantor power of Cyprus' independence, security and sovereignty, should have taken serious initiatives at government and parliament level to honor and implement its legal responsibilities and international law with regards to the violation of human rights in Cyprus by Turkey. In accordance with the United Nations Security Council resolutions such as 550 and 789, as well as the high-level agreements, the city of Famagusta should have been returned to its lawful owners as a priority. United Nations Security Council Resolution 550 of 1984 considers any attempts to settle in any part of Famagusta by people other than its inhabitants as inadmissible and calls for the transfer of this area to the administration of the United Nations as a starting measure. Instead, nearly the whole of Famagusta city has been gradually inhabited by legal settlers from Turkey. A small area of the city, around 18%, continues to be encircled by barbed wire, known as the ghost part of the city, being nothing else but a de facto military security zone, which strictly forbids anyone from entering. In addition, Turkey issued statements that apart from illegally occupying and having illegal settlers in the 82% part of Famagusta city area, that they are planning to inhabit the rest 18% of the city. For this, Turkey started doing illegal rebuilding and repair works in this section of the city. This action is a clear violation of United Nations Security Council resolutions, Britain's own resolution on Famagusta of the 16th of the 11th, 2015, but it also defies the European Parliament written declaration in 2012, which calls on the government of Turkey to act according to United Nations Council resolutions and previous European Parliament Legislative Committee reports and return the Famagusta sealed-off section to its lawful inhabitants. It is most important in mentioning that the European Parliament resolution of 26 of the 11/20, which calls on the European Council to consider the possibility of imposing targeted sanctions against Turkey if it doesn't comply with their directions. This resolution, however, as well as the previous ones, have been ignored by Turkey. Instead, the Turkish leadership is showing its real ambitions and plans for Cyprus to safeguard and de facto partition of Cyprus through their insistence in negotiating a two-state solution and not the long-agreed United Nations framework solution of a bicommunal, bizonal federation, putting therefore into practice Turkey's historical plans for not just partition of the island, but for a future unification of the occupied northern part of Cyprus with Turkey. We urge, therefore, the UK government, which is the main guarantor of power of Cyprus' independence, sovereignty and security, to call upon the United Nations to enforce United Nations Security Council Resolution 550, in which the 18% part of Famagusta should be under the United Nations control. Furthermore, to put a real pressure to Turkey that it must immediately stop its provocative and lawless behavior and comply with international law. Otherwise, steps for sanctions would be the only alternative option available. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vasily, for those words. Before we continue, can I just thank Fabian Hamilton and Catherine West, their long-standing supporters of us, for being here this evening. I'd like to begin with Stephen Doughty, who's the Minister for Europe, Shadow Minister for Europe. Now, you're also the MP for Cardiff South.
That's correct.
I've got a lot of relatives in Cardiff South.
I'm probably in my constituency. Yeah.
They probably are. Get to vote for you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Archbishop, Minister, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councillors, representatives of the Famagusta Association and of the community across the UK. It's a real pleasure to be with you this evening, and thanks particularly to the Famagusta Association of Great Britain for hosting us today. And of course, we're gathering not just to discuss the issues around Famagusta, but of course, as part of that important month, recognising the 62nd anniversary of Cyprus's independence. And I'm sure that's an occasion that we all want to celebrate and welcome and ensure that we are recognising the fantastic relationship that does exist between the UK and Cyprus today. And since being appointed by Keir Starmer as Labour's Shadow Minister for Europe, I've been particularly moved by the warmth and resolve of the people of Cyprus. And I want to start by being absolutely clear that Labour and the opposition remain absolutely unwavering in our commitment to Cyprus, its sovereignty, its territorial integrity, and its security. And I've had the pleasure, since I've been a Member of Parliament, to visit Cyprus twice. I recently travelled there with one of my other Shadow Ministerial colleagues, Fabian Hamilton, who was just mentioned. You actually have four of us from the Shadow Foreign Affairs team here today, because we also have Bambos Charalambos, as well as Catherine West and Fabian, as well as many other colleagues from across the houses and across parties. So there are many, many friends of Cyprus in this house, and particularly within my own party. And it was mentioned the community in Cardiff, particularly in my own constituency of Cardiff South. The Greek Orthodox Church is just 5 minutes away from where I live myself, regularly visited there, and also the Greek Cypriot Centre. We also have a Greek Cypriot Labour councillor in my local team. So those connections are very, very deep, they're very, very historic, and they're very, very warmly felt. On my visit earlier this year with Fabian, we were able to meet with representatives from across Cyprus, from government, from civil society, members of community, and we also were able to meet with the foreign minister. We had very, very constructive conversations with him, particularly actually discussing the confidence-building measures that he and the president had set out, and it was very helpful to be informed, but also crucially to actually see with my own eyes the situation on the ground. And of course, as well as visiting the division that still exists so tragically in Nicosia, I was also able to go and see for myself Famagusta, and tragically to see the situation particularly around Varosha. And of course I did not enter. I am very conscious of the UN Security Council resolutions which are being violated, and I was actually deeply shocked. I think when you see something with your own eye, I was shocked and I was saddened, because there is that beautiful, beautiful place, divided, unable for its original inhabitants to return, and yet the active encouragement of people to breach those resolutions on a regular basis, on a daily basis, the active encouragement of people to take tourism trips, people who probably don't even realise what they are doing by entering in there in violation of those agreements, and I think in deep disrespect to the original inhabitants. So to be able to see that for myself has left a lasting impression on me, and it's certainly something that I've taken back to my Labour colleagues. And we heard a lot about the recent provocations that there have been, deeply, deeply concerning. So I want to be absolutely clear, as I said at the beginning, that in my party you have a partner and a friend who will do everything in our power to continue to make Cyprus a priority for the international community and resolution of the issues a priority for a future government, which I hope that we will have in due course. We will absolutely work towards a bizonal, bicommunal federation with political equality, with an end to occupation, and particularly one in which Famagusta is restored and returned to its lawful inhabitants under those frameworks provided by the United Nations. And we understand how integral the resolution of that issue is to a wider settlement where we see peace and a resolution of the issue. And we would also work with all parties and all individuals across the island to avoid escalatory actions and instead support the type of confidence-building measures and discussions which I know are being proposed but sadly rejected, and make sure that we find a settlement which is built on a solid foundation of the international legal framework set out by the UN and others. It's been mentioned some of the provocations. I was particularly concerned also to hear about the gas exploration illegally by Turkey in the Eastern Mediterranean, the propositions to reinforce and extend the military presence in the north. These are not things that are going to help secure a settlement or peace, and they're deeply concerning. And I was actually shown the stark contrast between what was happening in terms of those provocations with the wishes of almost everybody that we met from all parts of communities, Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, who saw, for example, energy as a route for cooperation, where they could be working together, but in a common framework, and where partners were respecting each other on international law, not unilateral actions in violation of that. And I've been part of teams here discussing the sanctions and other issues that were mentioned too. We're absolutely clear about the UN resolutions which relate to Famagusta itself, and of course in relation to the illegal occupation. But whilst there's cause for concern, and I think we've heard some of that today from the speakers, there is cause, I hope, for optimism too, because in this room, and indeed across the UK within the community, there are individuals and groups such as the Association which continue to champion these issues to make sure they receive the attention that they rightly deserve, and ensure that the concerns of the people of Cyprus are heard both here in the UK and beyond. I want to make sure that they're a priority within my own party, they're a priority in discussions in this Parliament, the excellent work that goes in the all-party group as well, and with our collective resolve and commitment to peace and to the sovereignty of Cyprus, I would hope that not only Famagusta was flourish again, but also the whole of the island. So I end really with saying that I think the UK has a particularly critical role. We know our shared histories, we know the role as a guarantor, but I think that the UK has a wider commitment, which is one to the rule of law, to the international system, to acting as a force for good in the world, not just in relation to Cyprus, on many other issues. And certainly I would hope that those were the hallmarks of any future government. And we have a particular role to play, of course, within the Commonwealth. And of course, whilst we are no longer in the EU, there are other forums. We've seen the recent discussions around the European political community and others, but it's important that those are used to resolve issues, that they are used to find settlements in line with existing institutions and existing commitments in international law and in the international system. So I want to end really with just saying that this remains a major priority for me. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to go early to Cyprus in my time as a shadow minister. I'm delighted to have the connections both here with the High Commission and with other members of the community, and my door will remain absolutely always open to the concerns of all of you, and I very, very much hope to be able to visit again soon, and that we will see a peaceful resolution to the Cyprus issue, and particularly for the people of Famagusta. Thank you.
I'll speak last.
Last? Oh, okay. All right. I understand we have Mr. Jeremy Corbyn with us this evening. Would you like to say a few words? I was going to do you next. Use the Lazarus brothers, my cousins. Just tell them.
Chair, thank you very much, and I will be brief because I suspect there's quite a lot of people who want to speak this evening. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you and admiration to Vasilis for the work he's put in for the Famagusta Society. He has a business in my constituency, and I'm very proud to call him a friend of mine, and we work together on a lot of local Cypriot issues. The occupation of Cyprus in 1974 by the Turkish forces was obviously wrong in every conceivable way. It was an illegal occupation, and it's been an illegal occupation ever since. The Annan Plan, unfortunately, was not accepted because it was, I believe, incomplete in its proposals. And had it been delayed a bit and a bit more thought gone into some of the details of it, maybe it could have worked and gained support from both sides in order to bring about the reunification of Cyprus, which is what we all want. But we are where we are. That didn't happen. And so we're now faced with a situation where the island is divided, and Turkey clearly now wants to go to forward for full separation and full partition of the island. That would be contrary to international law, be contrary to the whole principles behind the United Nations. And for Britain, it's doubly important because Britain is a guarantor of Cypriot independence from 1960, from the point of independence of Cyprus, and therefore the British government has a particular role to play in this. I haven't heard them saying too much, if anything, about the problems over the law of the sea and the exploration that's going on by Turkey into hydrocarbons off the coast of Cyprus. That should not be happening until there is an agreement on the future of Cyprus as a whole, or agreement by the government of Cyprus in Nicosia. And so we have to be very aware of these things and keep on making these demands and taking them up. Likewise, the issues of violations of human rights, of destruction of historic places and damage to them also have to be taken up, as they are at the European Union in the European Parliament, which Britain is of course no longer a member of, but are also taken up at the Council of Europe, where Britain is very much a member, although this government might be having second thoughts about that in the longer term. I'm one of our delegation to the Council of Europe. So I just want to say we're here to support the people of Cyprus in their demand for reunification, for the bicommunal approach where all traditions and all languages are recognised and a shared history is recognised. But the particular situation facing Famagusta is right that we bring this up now, and it's quite right that you were able to go there and be a witness to what is actually happening in Famagusta. I've seen the pictures and films that Vasilis has shown me, and I've taken part in some television discussions about it. We just have to keep up that pressure. And tonight's meeting, one of many I know, we've met here many, many times, but they just need to remember this. We're not giving up. We're not going away. We're not forgetting. We will be here as long as it takes to bring about a peaceful reunification of the wonderful island of Cyprus. That is why we're here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Can I now introduce Gerard Davis from is Labour Swansea West?
Yasis. I'm Geraint Davis, and like Jeremy, I'm a member of the Council of Europe, and I put forward, in fact, a motion about Famagusta with the support of Vasilis from the Famagusta resolution, basically saying what we've been saying tonight, that we want a bi-zonal, bi-communal, equal political rights, a single Cyprus working together in harmony, obviously condemning the 1974 invasion, the destruction of cultural heritage, the violence, the missing persons, etc. So I'm with you. I'm supporting that. That's going forward. The rapporteur's been appointed and had a visit to Cyprus. I also visited Cyprus and met the mayor of Famagusta, obviously the Greek one who isn't living there, and looked at the situation, appalling situation that's deteriorating there. All I would say is it's a difficult thing to say, but it's very easy for us all here to sit here agreeing with each other how awful it is. What we all want to see is a resolution, and what that really requires is a situation in particular where young Greek Cypriots and young Turkish Cypriots come together and they say they want to live in harmony in the future to provide that unity. Because if it's simply a case of, in particular, mainland Turkey bringing more and more people from Turkey to populate northern Turkey, then going on about gas rights and all the rest of it, and doing more development in Famagusta, we can see that is a consolidation of what we don't want to see, which is the two-state solution. What we want to see is a single-state harmony, and that will require a certain amount of give and take. That will require communities working together, and I hope people who really are focused on getting the solution we want will think about that quite carefully. And I have been working actually with groups of younger people who are both Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots about working together on other issues to try and create these bonds. In Britain, of course, we had the situation with Northern Ireland. Obviously, there's problems with that unravelling because of Brexit. We understand that and the protocol. But putting that to one side, it's not that dissimilar. There are issues about bringing people together with a common goal, because ultimately we won't all want peace and prosperity and unity. And let's all fight for that. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you for coming this evening. Can I now call Bambos Haralambos, our Cypriot MP, to this meeting?
I'll just stand. A few weeks ago, I was in Cyprus. I visited Modful. I was there for the Modful rally, and we actually went to Modful with some of the councillors and the mayor of Modful. And one of the striking things about that was that in Modful we had a councillor, Councillor Maro, and she, by chance, met a Turkish Cypriot friend of hers who she hadn't seen for years. They embraced in the street, they were hugging, and they were wishing that it could be back to how it was 48 years ago. And that was such a striking thing. But as has been mentioned, we're all getting older. We're all. It's been 48 years since Turkey invaded, and much more needs to be done. And on the issue of Famagusta, again, I met the mayor at the Modful rally, and I'd also met him previously. We had a delegation to Cyprus in November, and it's taken far too long for us to get this far. Turkey is blatantly breaching international law. We need to put pressure on Turkey, not just the UK. The UK needs to use its influence internationally to put pressure on Turkey to comply with international law. What's happening at Varosha is totally unacceptable, and we need to redouble our efforts to make sure that the situation is reversed. Turkey seems to be able to broker talks with Ukraine and Russia, but doesn't seem to want to attend peace talks with Cyprus and the UN Security Council. So we want to make sure that that pressure is applied and Turkey isn't allowed to get away with double standards. And as has been said, elections are no excuse. There's always elections going on. We need to make sure that the efforts happen, and they happen now. So I'll certainly be working. I'm the Vice Chair of the APPG, so Roger's going to speak shortly. That we, as the APPG, I'm also in the Shadow Foreign Affairs team, that we put as much pressure as we can to make sure that things happen. We have a new Prime Minister as of today, so certainly we'll be putting pressure on him to make sure that his efforts on Cyprus also impress upon Turkey that we want to see a resolution about this, and that happens soon. I'm obviously one of yours. I grew up in the community. I understand the issues, and I will do whatever I can to make sure that we get a just solution for Cyprus. And I also hope I'll be seeing some of you on Sunday at the Famagusta Association during dance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bumble. Before I go on to Sir Roger, I'd just like to introduce a young lady who's going to become the UK's first female MP. Susie Stride.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm going to keep this brief because I think it's all been said. Everything that's important has been said today. My name's Susie Stride. I ran for Parliament in 2015, and as Nick just said, I'm going to run it again. My grandma is from Eftegomi, which is just outside Famagusta. And I always say, you're not going to have to lobby me. I feel passionate about this issue, do not worry. But I think it's all been said that actually what we're asking of the UK government today is to really treat Cyprus in the same way that we're treating Ukraine, to say actually that the illegal occupation of Cyprus needs to end, that Turkey needs to respect the international law and UN resolutions for Famagusta, but also for the rest of Cyprus. And really it's pretty straightforward. It's to say that not a single country in the world would not say that the invasion was illegal. I can just hear Nick talking here, but that's fine. I know you're listening. I love you, Nick. Me and Nick are related, by the way. And to say that, that the occupation is illegal and that actually both Greek and Turkish Cypriots want the Turkish government to leave peacefully and to allow Turkish and Greek Cypriots to decide their own future for their country. And I think it's really important what this gentleman just said, that there is something, and we've got the young Greek Cypriots here today, but it's about Greek and Turkish Cypriots coming together and saying, actually, we want to decide the future of our nation. We want to decide a good future for our nation, a peaceful future for our nation, and that future doesn't involve the Turkish government. And so they need to leave ASAP. Anyway, thank you very much. And as I say, when I become an MP in the coming years, you will not need to lobby me. This is a situation that I feel incredibly passionate about. And I want to end by saying one thing. The gentleman here also mentioned Northern Ireland, and many of us remember everything that went on in Northern Ireland and the bomb scares and all of that. And people thought it was not possible to see peace. But it was possible and it did happen. And I just want to say today, however long this has gone on for, it is possible to see peace and it is possible to see the reunification of Cyprus. And that is going to happen. Thank you.
We also have Claudia Webb with us. Would you like to say a few words?
I wasn't going to say any words, but because it's all been said, but just really solidarity to everyone here. Our struggles, of course, out of colonialism and imperialism are struggles that we have to continue to understand the legacy of that and what that means. And that's really what I think we are dealing with, the whole process of colonialism and the legacy of that, and now neoliberalism. We've got to really move forward to end all of that legacy, and this is the resultant of it. And so your struggles are our struggles, and solidarity to you all.
Can I now introduce Sir Roger Gow? It really doesn't need an introduction.
And friends, thank you for joining us this evening. I said that I would speak last because I came in late. I came in late because we were dividing in the House, and we had to do rather a lot of voting. For that, I apologise. And I wanted to make sure that I'd heard everything that was said before I speak to you, both as the chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Cyprus, and also as a proud citizen of Morphu. And I would be an equally proud citizen of the Republic of Cyprus, as and when that is a united island. I have been involved personally in the Cyprus issue from the entirety of my 39 years in the House of Commons. And for all of those 39 years, I've also been a member of the all-party group that I now chair. And it is a huge sadness to me to have to recognise that you actually now have to be over 50, which means there are some young people in this room, including the aspirant Member of Parliament, who've never known anything other than a divided island. 2 generations, effectively, of Cypriots have been born without knowing the happiness of a united Cyprus in which Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots can live in harmony together without the oppression of an occupying army on their soil, your soil, our soil, my soil. And it is dispiriting to find that under successive governments of all political persuasions in this country, we have so far failed to be able to broker the resolution that was, as has been referred to, finally brokered in Northern Ireland. I hear talk of fait accompli of two communities. Now, let's be clear about this. This is not a fait accompli of two communities. Mr. Erdogan's clear intent is that the northern part of your island should not be a separate entity, a Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Mr. Erdogan sees the north of your island in exactly the same way as part of Turkey, as President Putin sees Crimea as part of Russia. And we need to understand that, because that is the direction in which he wants to head. I was for 5 years the leader of the United Kingdom delegation to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, of which Mr. Corbyn is a member, Geraint Davis is a member, and a number of other supporters of the Cypriot cause on both sides of the House of Commons are also or have been members. And I have found it wholly unacceptable, and we have used that platform over and over again to say that it cannot be right for a member state of the Council of Europe, Turkey, to have an army of occupation on soil belonging to another member state of the Council of Europe. It is quite wrong. It is in breach of international law, and it's in breach of everything and all the forms of democracy that we all believe in. And yet it is tolerated, and that is a disgrace. In years gone by, and sadly I've seen too many of them, we saw Varosha as a beacon of hope, a possibility, along with Nicosia airfield, as being the key that might unlock the solution to the whole of the problem. We saw it as having the potential, under the auspices of the United Nations, for demonstrating a gesture of goodwill. My friends, what we have now seen in Mr. Erdogan's actions recently, make no mistake about that, these actions stem from Ankara, is an action of ill will, is a deliberate breach of the United Nations conventions relating to the whole island, of course, but also to Varosha. And the idea that part of this area, derelict for so long, so sadly, should now be opened up and tarmacked, your town, your city, your land, as a tourist attraction, what my friend Christos Karialis described as war tourism, is quite appalling. And again, it's in breach of everything that we all believe in. We have always regarded in this House of Commons the Cyprus issue as non-party. And under successive chairmanships, of which I'm now the current one, of both major political parties, we have never played party politics with your island, because we believe passionately that this should be a non-partisan issue that we in this House of Commons can unite over to work towards a peaceful resolution. But, and it's a very big but, point was made to me earlier tonight I know it well enough, but it's well to focus on it. 2 generations of people have been born since the invasion. That means that the overwhelming majority of the original residents of Famagusta and the original residents of Varosha are no longer with us. So the torch has been passed down now to those of you who are younger. And what I want to say to you all is this: we will keep that flame burning. You will help us keep that flame burning, because we cannot see another generation of Greek and Turkish Cypriots born without a resolution to this problem. Together we will do this, and we will be with you for as long as it takes. Thank you.
Before we close up, I'd just like to thank all the MPs that attended this evening. Also, we have a number of representatives from embassies and countries around the world. We'd like to thank you all for attending this evening, and especially the press who always support us. So thank you very much. I'd like to now invite everyone to join us in the adjoining room, where there's going to be plenty of food, drink, no Greek dancing, but if you have any questions, there'll be plenty of people there to ask.
Δύο λόγια για τις πρωτοβουλίες της ελληνικής παροικίας του Λονδίνου, όπως αυτή η συνάντηση, πόσο σημαντικές είναι για την προώθηση του κυπριακού ζητήματος.
Να συγχαρώ τις οργανώσεις των Κυπρίων και των Ελλήνων στο Λονδίνο για τη διοργάνωση εκδηλώσεων σαν αυτή. Να συγχαρώ ιδιαίτερα τον Σύνδεσμο Αμμοχωστιανών του Ηνωμένου Βασιλείου για τη διοργάνωση αυτής της εκδήλωσης. Είναι ενέργειες και πρωτοβουλίες οι οποίες βοηθούν όσο κανένας δεν μπορεί να φανταστεί την προσπάθειά μας για διαφώτιση στο εξωτερικό, αλλά και για την ενημέρωση των φίλων της Κύπρου για να συνεχίσουν να μας βοηθούν για την επίτευξη μιας δίκαιης και βιώσιμης λύσης στο κυπριακό πρόβλημα. Και επί τη ευκαιρία να ευχαριστήσω και τα μέλη του Αγγλικού Κοινοβουλίου που ανήκουν στην ομάδα φίλων της Κύπρου. Είναι λοιπόν με ιδιαίτερη χαρά που παρευρέθηκα και είναι πραγματικά μεγάλη μου η τιμή που μπόρεσα να απευθυνθώ τόσο στους συμπατριώτες μου όσο και στα μέλη του Κοινοβουλίου.
Ακούσαμε από τους βουλευτές, καταρχάς τους Άγγλους βουλευτές, πάρα πολύ θερμά λόγια για την Κύπρο, και ακούσαμε να γίνεται και ιδιαίτερη αναφορά στη σχέση που μπορεί να έχει η πρόσφατη εισβολή της Ρωσίας στην Ουκρανία με το κυπριακό ζήτημα. Ο συσχετισμός αυτός, πώς αυτό μπορεί να επικοινωνηθεί περισσότερο διεθνώς από τη δική σας πλευρά?
Είναι ακριβώς αυτό το οποίο ο πρόεδρος Αναστασιάδης και η κυβέρνηση σε όλα τα διεθνή φόρα προβάλλουμε, με τις αναφορές μας στα ίδια ουσιαστικά γεγονότα, όπως η Ρωσία έχει εισβάλει στην Ουκρανία χωρίς οποιοδήποτε δίκαιο και με καταπάτηση των ανθρωπίνων δικαιωμάτων και όλων των αρχών του διεθνούς δικαίου, διεκδικώντας εδάφη που δεν της ανήκουν και μάλιστα λαιλατώντας και παραβιάζοντας κάθε αρχή δικαίου και κάθε ανθρώπινο δικαίωμα. Ακριβώς το ίδιο είχε συμβεί, μπορεί να πω και σε χειρότερη μορφή, το 1974 στην Κύπρο, μια εισβολή η οποία έγινε από μια υπερδύναμη σε ένα πολύ μικρό κράτος και που συνεχίζεται αυτή η κατοχή για 48 ολόκληρα χρόνια, έχοντας αλλάξει την πληθυσμιακή αναλογία, έχοντας καταστρέψει τον πολιτισμό μας ουσιαστικά στα κατεχόμενα, την ιστορία μας, και που δυστυχώς επιμένουν πλέον ξεκάθαρα στη λύση δύο κρατών, κάτι που δεν είμαστε έτοιμοι να δεχτούμε, και ακόμη χειρότερα είναι οι εξελίξεις που βλέπουμε τόσο στην αποκλειστική μας οικονομική ζώνη, όσο και με το άνοιγμα της περίκλειστης πόλης της Αμμοχώστου, που πρέπει να δηλώσουμε ότι εάν δεν επιστραφεί η Αμμόχωστος στους νόμιμους κατοίκους της, δεν μπορώ να φανταστώ πώς θα υπάρξει λύση στο κυπριακό πρόβλημα.
Βλέπετε να υπάρχει μια στροφή της αγγλικής πολιτικής απέναντι στην Κύπρο, ή τουλάχιστον μια ελπίδα για να αλλάξουν κάποια πράγματα?
Εκείνο που μπορώ να πω είναι ότι κάνουμε κάθε τι δυνατό για να ενημερώσουμε την αγγλική κυβέρνηση, κάνουμε κάθε τι δυνατό για να ενημερωθεί και ο ίδιος ο αγγλικός λαός. Έχουμε πολύ καλούς πρεσβευτές, εξάλλου την παροικία της Κύπρου στην Ελλάδα, που γνωρίζετε όλοι πώς...
Μιλούσα για την Βρετανία,
ναι,
την πλευρά της Βρετανίας.
Ακριβώς, έχουμε πρεσβευτές εδώ στη Βρετανία που ενημερώνουν, αυτό ήθελα να πω, και η προσπάθεια μας είναι να έχουμε μια αγαστή συνεργασία με το Ηνωμένο Βασίλειο. Είναι εγγυήτρια δύναμη, είναι μόνιμο μέλος του Συμβουλίου Ασφαλείας. Διατηρούμε παλιούς δεσμούς. Είναι γνωστό ότι η Κύπρος κατήχεται από την Κύπρο μέχρι από την Αγγλία, μέχρι το 1960 με την ανεξαρτησία, και θα ήθελαμε να συνεχίσουμε αυτή τη συνεργασία και την βοήθεια του Ηνωμένου Βασιλείου για να μπορέσουμε να ξαναπάμε στο διάλογο, συνεχίζοντας από εκεί που μείναμε στο κράμον Θανάρι.
Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Σας ευχαριστώ.
Έχω ακούσει μια πρόσφατη δήλωσή σας, έχω διαβάσει, η οποία λέει ότι αν χαθεί Αμμόχωστος, χάνεται συνολικά η Κύπρος. Το επαναλάβατε και εδώ με άλλο τρόπο, παραφρασμένο.
Ναι.
Τι ακριβώς εννοείτε?
Κοιτάξτε, εάν χαθεί η περίκλειστη περιοχή της Αμμοχώστου, την οποία καλύπτουν τα δύο ψηφίσματα, το 550 και το 789, το οποίο είναι το τελευταίο μέρος της κατεχόμενης Κύπρου, το οποίο δεν έχει επικιστεί και το οποίο προνοούν τα ψηφίσματα ότι έπρεπε να δοθεί πίσω στους νόμιμους κατοίκους της Αμμοχώστου κάτω από την αιγίδα των Ηνωμένων Εθνών. Αν παραβιάσουν και αυτόν το status quo, πλέον δεν υπάρχει θέμα εδαφικού. Άρα, με τι θα συζητούμε πλέον με την Τουρκία? Αυτό προσπαθούν να κάνουν, το είχαν σαν τελευταίο χαρτί, και δυστυχώς θα είναι πολύ πιθανόν η ταφόπλακα του κυπριακού προβλήματος, που σημαίνει ακριβώς ότι δεν θέλουν να λύσουν τον Κυπριακό.
Είχατε κάποιες επαφές εδώ στο Λονδίνο τις τελευταίες μέρες, μαθαίνουμε, και στο Foreign Office. Διακρίνεται ότι υπάρχει κάποια αλλαγή στάσης, υπάρχουν κάποια καλά νέα από την πλευρά τη βρετανική πλευρά?
Κοιτάξτε, χτες συναντηθήκαμε με την υπεύθυνη για το Κυπριακό και την Ανατολική Μεσόγειο, την κυρία Ροζιέρ, η οποία βασικά ήταν πολύ θετική, ειδικά για την Αμμόχωστο, και ήταν πολύ θετική όσον αφορά τα ψηφίσματα του Συμβουλίου Ασφαλείας. Της ατώνησε ότι δεν επιτρέπεται να παραβιάζονται ψηφίσματα του Συμβουλίου Ασφαλείας, και ότι σε τέτοια περίπτωση μετά η Τουρκία θα γίνει ένας παράγοντας κινδύνου και θα έχει το δικαίωμα να παραβιάζει όλα τα ψηφίσματα τα οποία θα βγουν και για άλλα θέματα τα οποία θα προκύψουν στη διεθνή σκαγέρα.
Έγινε. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Να είστε καλά.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.